Hey, everybody, it's Tommy Canelli, and welcome back to Before the Lights podcast, the show that tells you how they made their mark. He's a martial arts instructor, an investigator who is a writer, producer, and director of Operation Wasteland, a deep undercover documentary on organized crime, which was the largest in NYPD and Manhattan District history. Let's welcome in Louis Balestrieri, better known as Louis B. Louis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
You are welcome. Born in South Brooklyn, the Park Slope area, which was the Colombo crime family area.
Colombo and Genovese predominantly ran the place.
Okay. At age 5, Uncle Jimmy was a bookmaker. You were running numbers.
That's correct. That's correct.
And then
not knowing what I was doing.
And
All I know is I took a bag. I took it from Uncle Jimmy to Uncle Mike down the block, and they gave me $5.
So you're running numbers. And then you moved to Massapequa Park, where you attended Christ the King High School. But now,
Let me back up. I moved to East New York.
Okay.
I attended Catholic school there. And I was in the neighborhood of all of these guys from Goodfellas. It's Paul Vario's area. And I was just hanging out with people that I didn't know were very, very hooked up and connected. And I come from a cop family and a wise guy family. And I was very, very infatuated with both sides of the fence. Now, I went to Catholic grammar school, and there we had guys that say, John, where's your father? He's working. John's father was a very big wise guy. I don't want to mention their names. He was in jail someplace in some federal penitentiary because he was a big porn guy. And then there was other people that I knew and I met who wound up marrying organized crime people. Then from there, I go to Christ the King High School. Now, Christ the King High School was dominated by kids that came from Howard Beach, Queens. Now, if you know Howard Beach, Queens, that's where John Gotti lived. So all of these wise guys' kids, I'm rubbing shoulders with. I'm going to school with these guys. I'm hanging out with them. I had no idea who their fathers were. One of the guys that I will mention had a buddy of mine named Gary. His uncle was Joey Gallo. Mm. And I remember him taking off because he had to go to his uncle's wake back in 1972. It doesn't get bigger than that.
No.
Now, was I a wise guy? No. But
here's
I'm rubbing shoulders.
Here's where I want to go, Louis, where I was going with it. You start off in one area with Colombo and Genovese, and then you go to another area with Lucchese, Bonanno, Gambino. I'm like, wait a minute. Louis's been in every area of the 5 major New York City crime families growing up. But
I didn't even know who these people were. You know, I just associated with them. I didn't know, my family ate in a restaurant called La Casa Storta, which is in Brooklyn. That was a big Colombo place. The guy who ran the place was Tony Storta. There's movies made about this. He had a dog named Nina, who was a Neapolitan Mastiff. She walked around the whole place. Okay, Tony cooked what he wanted to cook, and at the FBI had wires and surveillance on it all the time. What do I know? I ate there. He was a friend of my Uncle Pete's. My Uncle Pete says, "Hey, Tonio Storti, he's a gentleman all over the earth." Well, that's the way they talked. What do I know?
You said that you grew up in a family of police enforcement with your father that was a New York police officer. But for you, being what you know now, what is the difference between police and organized crime?
My humble and honest opinion, they're one and the same. Mm. They're holding hands, walking on 2 sides of the fence. My humble opinion, based on my experience, many people could deny this, but when you're involved in organized crime and you do something wrong, they will kill you. When you are in the New York City Police Department, they won't kill you. They will kill your career. And I am one of the victims of that happening. and I could explain it, and I have tons of documentation as to what they did to me.
And I'm definitely we're going to get there, folks. When we listen to this story that Louis was part of, I'm going to bring you up to that. But, you ran around with these guys. You didn't really know they were associated, or maybe you did as you got older and got a little bit understanding that, hey, these are mob guys. But how did mob guys teach Louis to be loyal and respectful?
I knew from being a young kid, never rat. Don't say anything. Okay. I picked up certain things from them. I studied weakness. Okay. I had these concepts. So a wise guy told me this, who happened to be, let me see, he's a Lucchese guy. He was a made guy. He said to me, kid, never become complacent. Always stay hungry. Eat today, digest, burp, and tomorrow be hungry again. And I never forgot that. Another thing that I took from my father's cousin, he said to me, you got to learn how to control the controllers. Because once you control the controllers, you're in control. And I learned how to do that by studying the weakness, or I get some shit on you where I knew that I could bury you, and you're going to take care of me because I don't bury you, because I'm going to be honorable about it.
Let me ask you this, Louis. Is it true at age 21 that you were driving a new Lincoln and you were making more money than your father was by hustling?
That is it. That is the truth, and absolute nothing but the truth. Okay. I could tell you exactly what I made. Okay. I was making $300 on the books, and my paycheck was $212.80 with all the taxes taken out. Then I got another $150 under the table. And I bought that car from a gentleman. He's passed on now. He's pretty well known. His name was Patty Testa. He was in Brooklyn, and he was a big car guy. And he worked for Roy DeMeo. I believe he was part of Roy DeMeo's crew. He was part of another family first. Then he got involved with Roy DeMeo. His brother was, I want to say Joey Testa, and Anthony Center. I think those are the right names. They were known as the Gemini twins, and they came from Roy DeMeo's bar, the Gemini Lounge. And you walked in there through the front door, and you went out. You went out the back door in a bunch of garbage bags,
and usually in different pieces.
And then they took you down to what was known as the Fountain Avenue dumps, and they got rid of you there. Now, I don't know this to be true. I'm getting this information by one of the guys who used to frequent that. They said there was a light pole, and when you went in there to dump a body, you put a notch on that light pole to let you put your mark on it.
Yeah.
So, but this is what I grew up around, and I'll be honest with you, I was very fascinated by this. I want to do this here. I'll tell you another story that I'm not proud of. I would call myself I was an opportunist criminal.
Okay.
Okay. I was 13 years old, sitting in my backyard in East New York. Now, East New York was a lot of wise guys came from there. There was a lot of Gambino. There was Paul Vario's crew not too far. A lot of the guys from Goodfellas, the real guys, their kids I hung out with, not knowing who they were. Okay. Sal Palizzi.
Yes.
You know Sal?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sal, yeah.
Sal and I came from the same neighborhood. And I spoke to Sal recently, and I can't wait to see him. If I was 10 years older, me and Sal would have been sharing a jail cell together. My friends were part of Sal's crew. Sal is very friendly with cousins of mine. Okay? And it's just, the world is a small place. Am I a gangster? No. Did I meet a lot of people? Yes. Now, getting back to this story, we're sitting. Sal is the guy who reminded me. Sal, he says, I used to like to do truck heists. I said, yeah, I did a truck heist. He says, you did a truck heist? I says, I was 13 years old. sitting in the backyard. I see a truck flying by, a big box truck. Okay. And there's cops chasing. They try to jump a curb to get away. They hit this parking lot, and he knew the exact area because he grew up there too. And they hit the curb. These two guys jump out of the truck. The cops are chasing them through the parking lot. They're half a block away. What do? I go look in the back of the truck. In the back of the truck, this is back in 1971, ladies' pantsuits, the hottest thing on the street. Okay, everybody had to have ladies' pants. That whole truckload of pantsuits went in my father's garage. The following week, when things cooled down, I was a pantsuit salesman. Okay. One day, this is true stories. One day, my dad comes home from work and he goes, I got caught in traffic. A truck turned over. I'm saying, what kind of truck? He says, it was a sod truck. A sod truck? I go across the street. I get Frank the Guinea. Frank the Guinea was a guy from Sicily who had dump trucks because he'd do concrete work. Frankie, let's go. Where are we going? Shut up. We go over. We load the truck up with sod. That's everybody had new grass. and I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I thought I was just like, I'm getting a feather in my cap because I'm hustling.
In those days, a lot of things fell off trucks. Pantsuits,
everything. That's the only way. That's the only way to buy.
That's right. Getting now into the undercover work, how did jobs as a manager at a record store, a clothing store, and even being a pizza chef help you become undercover? Or did any of that help you?
Working in the pizza place was owned by a silent, organized crime figure. A very prominent guy, gentleman, not a violent guy, an earner, a negotiator. And I got to, I had my eyes and ears open, and I was a shaker and a mover as a young guy. I was doing crazy things. That's how I made a lot of money. I just knew how to play the game. And when I became a cop, I was a real good cop. I was a street cop because you couldn't bullshit me. Okay, because you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Now, I had got my detective shield in 6 years, which is pretty quick. And I was working in narcotics. President Bush created this new unit called HIDTA, High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. He said to the NYPD, give me 30 of your best detectives, 3 sergeants and 3 lieutenants, and you're going to have a team that's going to do Asian organized crime and drugs, another team that's going to do Colombians, and another team that's going to do traditional drug gangs. Now, I had a very, very phenomenal understanding of how Asians worked, in that the precinct that I was working in was becoming dominated on the Lower East Side of Manhattan by Asians and Asian organized crime. So I was locking up a lot of the gang members. I knew how things worked, the triads, the this, to that, how to talk to them, what to ask them. They all had 3 names. So I interviewed for the Asian team, thinking I'm just going to be an investigator. So this Asian lieutenant talks to me, and he says to me, he asked me questions. What's the primary language? It's this. What's a Cantonese, Mandarin, Fuckinese? How do you know this? I know it. That's my job. Okay. So he says, would you like to be an undercover in my team? I said, well, what's in it for me? I already got my detective shield. He says, I'll get you promoted again. I says, okay. We had a gentleman's handshake. And what I did was I became the Asian undercover. Anytime the specific line of heroin, if an arrest was made and it came up with China White, that's the finest heroin in the world, my team had to go out into the city and interview the guy and see if they could roll him. And then they'd bring me in to see if I could work with the guy. What I did was I took the name of a guy by the name of Phil Basile. Did you ever hear Phil Basile?
No, I've not.
Okay. Phil Basile ran all the nightclubs on Long Island, which I frequented. Okay. My friends and my boss knew Phil Basile. Phil Basile had a dozen or so nephews. Guess who I became? Louis Basile. You got it? So if somebody said something to me, now the story I played was, I buy and sell pizzerias. I was in the pizza business. They couldn't trip me up. Okay. I'm throwing powder out on the street. My uncle is a wise guy. He's the money man. I got a black guy named John Wood. He's throwing my powder out in the Hamptons. I'm dealing with all of these funky white kids, and I got to have the best heroin available. China White's the best. And I played Louis Basile.
Real quick, just maybe so my listeners can understand that are not even maybe associated or understand the New York area. Quickly tell them, how big is the heroin problem in New York City?
When I patrolled the city of New York as a cop, it was the heroin capital of America. Okay, the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Drugs were all over. They used to these guys would line up like on a cheese line to buy drugs. I could any day, anytime, anywhere go out and make a drug collar. Okay, it was that easy. That was in the early 80s, around 86, 87, crack came into the picture. And it kind of took some of the sting off heroin, but guys who were doing heroin. Now, I was not selling beige garbage. I had to buy the best. I was paying $6,000 an ounce. Now, Asian heroin is not purchased in kilos. A kilo is 2.2 pounds, okay, which is 1,000 grams. When you buy fine Asian heroin, it came from the Asian Triangle, and you bought it in a unit. A unit was 700 grams. It was quality control with a logo on it, so you knew the family and you knew the guy who was making the heroin. This is big business. Mm-hmm. Now, at some point in time, what the Colombians did was they hooked up with the Asians and they started switching off product. So the Colombians were taking in fine heroin, and in return, they were getting fine cocaine. Now, I had to learn the business, learn the trade. I was an actor without a script. I had to pull the words out of my ass. I had certain things that I did that got me over. And, I played the role. I played who I had to be. And these guys were they feared me because they didn't understand me. I never did it without a gun. I worked all alone all the time. I did not want to get tripped up by another guy. Okay, I would never. One time, I worked as a money man in another case, and we did something in an apartment. I was buying cocaine with another undercover. I was the money man, and I got into trouble. The guy took a butterfly knife and he stuck it to my throat, and he caught me completely off guard. We had one gun between us, and the gun was in my pants, and I couldn't get it out. And he had a Dominican. This guy was Sicilian. There was a Dominican guy behind him who stood up, and I know he had a gun. I just didn't see it. And we talked our way out of it. And the lieutenant, prior to going in, they wanted to take this case further. He says, I don't want no problems. Get in and get out. After this guy gave me a hard time. He said, yeah, sure, they shot him. I said, boss, what'd you tell me? He told me to stay relaxed. I'm telling you, my asshole was winking because he had the drop on. But you got to be able to talk. And what I did was he had the knife to my throat. And I said, oh, you don't think I got somebody else's money in my pocket? You don't think they know I'm here? You don't think that I lose this money? Guess who they're going to come to see? You. Because they know where I am. I says, how long you doing this? How long you in this business? You insult me. You pull a knife on me? The fuck is the matter with you? And I was like, he started to take it away. And the other guy I was with took it off from me. He said, what are you doing? This is my uncle's boy. You insult him like that? I was like, ho, 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 ho. I was pooping in my shorts.
Louis, after you got done doing the heroin and Asian gangs and working in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, you eventually moved into investigating organized crime. Tell me about the Italian bread industry.
Okay. Let me tell you what happens in this. Let me go back to this Asian lieutenant. This Asian lieutenant and me wound up bumping heads because he was a little small, vertically challenged, egotistical guy that didn't know the narcotics business. He expected me to go out, buy a taste of heroin, and then buy 4 kilos. It doesn't work like that. These people don't know me. They don't trust me. You know, I was developing. I used to do crazy things. I used to make them. I had this thing called a touch test. You have to have a conversation with you for a little while. Says, what's on my neck over here? Once you touch me, you were in. I had you. Okay. When I went into a bar and met a broad, if she let me touch her, it was over. I was taking her home. She didn't know it. I was scoring her drawers. Okay. So I used that same tactic when I was dealing with these bad guys. Now, me and this guy bump heads, and he's trying to screw me, and I'm the lonely detective. He's the lieutenant. They take his side. So what do? They know that I grew up in this era, and I know people and this and that. I'm not mentioning any names. I said, I went to school with a lot of guys. They don't have to know my whole story. Now, I'm telling my whole story now because people are finding it very fascinating. It wasn't fascinating to me. I've been keeping this under wraps for 40 years. What did they do? They stick me in a case where me and this other guy, we were playing brother-in-laws. Now, the NYPD was opening up a bakery. Now, what organized crime did, they did it in many different industries, is they would open up legitimate corporations and they were running felony enterprises. Okay, so here's what happens with the Italian bread. We find out that guys who have bakeries or whatever, they can't. Did you ever hear the expression, I bought a Coca-Cola route. It's a protected route. I got a Frito-Lay's route. It's a protected. That doesn't exist. That's organized crime terminology. That means that when you bought one of these routes that are protected, you can only sell your product in a certain area. That's not the way things work. That's restraint of trade. That's all of these Donnelly Act violations. So we find out in Brooklyn that these mom and pop stores aren't allowed. They're only allowed to buy bread from certain people, like the AMP, the this, the that. They couldn't buy bread from all these companies. So we go in. Hey, how you doing? How are you? Oh, Mr. Canal, how are you? Yeah, this is me and my brother-in-law. We just opened up a place. We're in Manhattan, and what do you pay for your bread? 25 cents a loaf? I'll tell you what. I'll do it for 20. We can't take it from you. What do you mean you can't take it? Well, the association says we can only. What association? What are you talking about? So this is America, okay? We come from Jersey. We're over here in New York. I'll come and see you in a couple of weeks. I got this guy on the hook now. So we document all this. We do our reports. We come back a couple of weeks later, and Mr. Canale, how you doing, bro? You remember me? Yeah. Listen. We'll sell to you for $10, 10 cents a loaf. We can't take. What do you mean you can't take it? You told me that the last time. Well, the association. Fuck the association. Come on, we're here to make money. And they don't. They shut me down again. But this is all. I'm setting this all up. Me and my partner. He's doing it. I'm doing it. I come in a couple of weeks later. I'm trying to get the wise guys to come out and pay us a visit. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I come with like 4 or 5 loaves of Italian bread. And I said, look, I want you to try it for free. Just try it for free. I move all the Italian bread. I put theirs over here, over there. And I put mine there. And they start yelling at us, get the fuck out of here. You can't do this. I'm only trying to make money here. And we leave. Eventually, they came to pay the bakery a visit. They wanted to know who's making our bread and what's going on. But what they did to me, I started to do well in this case. Okay, the case is starting to grow. It's starting to boom. And this guy and me, we're brother-in-laws. Okay, and we played it off real well. He was a smart guy too. And what did they do to me? They take me out of that team. Because why? I'm going to have to get promoted. So they stick me in a team, which was the Bad News Bears. That's the organized crime controlling the private sanitation industry. Now, what the organized crime guys did was they set up different associations. Same thing. Legitimate corporations running felony enterprises. Now, they're telling you who you can pick up, whose garbage you can pick up, what the price is going to be. They're controlling the entire industry.
Hang on a second there, Louis. Why was that group called the Bad News Bears? Who nicknamed that? Or who gave that group that name?
The unit. When you got stuck in this unit, you couldn't get out. It was a bunch of detectives that were good, but me, I was going to punch out this lieutenant. So that's just the way it goes. He claimed to be the all-Canadian karate champion. I took my jacket off and I gave him a shot at the title.
Well,
and
I said you were a martial arts instructor. So real quick, when did you start doing martial arts? At what age?
11.
Okay, so you have been doing martial arts for a very long time at this point.
I am, I'm right now today. I just retired. I just decided I don't want to do it anymore. I'm 66 years old. Okay. I get out of bed in the morning. My neighbors think I'm having sex. It's me trying to bend my knees. I'm moaning and groaning. But I've been doing it all my life. I hold rank in Tang Soo Do Muay Kwan Taekwondo, which is nothing anymore. And I'm a certified Olympic coach, certified by the United States Olympic Committee. I'm going to do one more tournament, June 7th of this year, and that's it. I'm done. I'm selling my mats and I'm off and running. So, I train in other stuff.
Sure.
I hold my own. I'm not a tough guy, but, I can take care of business if I have to.
Let's get into this private sanitation industry that for numerous years, Operation Wasteland, over 30 arrests that took down associates, soldiers, capos, the largest organized crime in NYPD and Manhattan District history, wiretaps, surveillance, and organized crime meetings. How did you get started with this? I know you said when you got into the Bad News Bears, but when did this whole thing really start to gain some momentum, Louis?
It started 2 years prior to me from getting in there. Okay. Now they bounced me into this team and they send me to this location. Nobody spoke to me for weeks on end because I was a problem child. Okay. I rode in a car with a guy named Vic Fiabani, who is now my brother. Okay. That's how close we are. At some point in time, I'd like to get Vic on with me and we'll tell that story. He was more involved. He got there earlier. I got injured on the case. I lost 30% use of my left arm. I retired on a disability pension. Okay. I was disgusted with the entire thing that was going on. Now I first get into the team and I'm stuck riding with Vic. He's stuck riding with me. We drove into Manhattan 2 hours a day. He didn't talk to me. I didn't talk to him. It was insane. Okay. I tell this story in the, he didn't trust me. Okay. Nobody trusted me. Nobody liked me. They just heard my reputation. Listen, this was my opinion. First, I'm a man, then I'm a cop. And I didn't care if you had stars, bars, eagles. It doesn't matter. Stripes on your arm. If you don't like me because I'm me, that's your problem. If I did something wrong and you have to discipline me, I take it on the chin. And I have to tell you, my entire career, when they discipline you, they give you what's called a RIP. It's a reduction in pay. If you lost your shield, your badge, they would take 2 weeks' pay. That's a lot of money. You're talking $2,000 or $3,000. They never took 10 minutes time from me because I never did anything wrong. That's just the way I was. I was a stand-up guy. But you weren't going to shit on me. And a lot of bosses were afraid of this because they couldn't control me. That was my hang-up. I went to Catholic school. The nuns couldn't control me. When I was a kid, they broke my balls. I threw a Christmas tree out the window.
Why was there no confidence in this team doing this Operation Wasteland?
They considered us a bunch of jerk-offs. And, nobody wanted to work together. Okay. Nobody liked us. You'd go into the office and try to get information. Hey, they wouldn't give us information. Nobody would talk to us. They just laughed at us because they were good guys, but they couldn't work together. I was working with a bunch of backstabbing assassins.
Okay. All right.
And they would hurt each other. They didn't want, we weren't getting any overtime. The lieutenant hated us. He stuck us in a, first time I went into this team, we were doing a wiretap. Wiretaps suck. I hated doing a wiretap. It's not what people really think. Everybody says you see a wiretap, it's two FBI guys in a van with earphones. That's not the way it works. Okay, when you do a wiretap, a eavesdropping affidavit is sworn out, okay? And all of the cops are sworn to listening to this information. Now, if they're talking about drugs on the wiretap and suddenly they talk about doing a burglary, you can't listen to it. Now, we don't listen to everything. So people go, all right, my phone is tapped. Your phone's not tapped. We can only listen to what's called pertinent information. The phone rings, I pick up my ear things, I put them on, and I start to listen. If you're talking about going to your kid's baseball game, I can't listen to it. I go down on it, stop recording, okay? And then I give it 35, 40 seconds, I go up on it again. Once I start getting pertinent information, I continue recording, okay? Can't listen to anything between you and your doctor, you and your attorney, you and your wife, basically. You know what I mean? You talk to a priest, we can't listen to it. This particular team, the Bad News Bears, on one particular occasion, this is funny. One guy's, everybody had a chance to be on the wire. Okay, this guy's listening to the conversation. He goes, hey, listen to this. He puts the speakers on. Now, he's not supposed to listen to this or record it. He records a conversation with the secretary to one of these trade waste associations. I forgot what her name was. I'll call her Donna. Donna's saying, I went to the party last night, the Christmas party, and Tony Baloney from such and such party, he took me on the car and he fucked me in my ass. My ass is on fire. Telling this whole story. We are hysterical, laughing, not realizing that the whole thing was recorded and it went down to the DA's office. And we got our asses reamed because we're violating this lady's rights. We shouldn't have been listening to that, but it was funny as shit. And we started saying, we come on, man. We told you that machine was broken. Things weren't, we made up stories to get out of it. But
Louis, tell my listeners this. What was happening before Operation Wasteland in the waste disposal industry in New York City? I mean, I'm sure there was price fixing and bid rigging.
Exactly.
But can you just give my listeners an example of the extent that was happening before you guys got into this?
The wise guys were controlling the price of the stops. They were telling you what stops you could take. And, the mom and pop stores were getting banged over the head. And a lot of them were in Chinatown. Chinese they're afraid of police. They don't call the police when something happens. And, the mom and pop stores, they would just play along with it. You go in and you say, how you doing? I want to pick up your garbage. You're paying $35 a week? Okay, I'll do it for $25. And they just went along with the show. The big companies like Wall Street buildings and what have you. And those are the ones where they were paying $100,000 or so. They also were controlling the price of the paper, waste paper, how much they were going to get per pound. And in New York, the average guy who's got a house, the Department of Sanitation, which is run by the city, picks up the garbage. Anytime you have a business, they have to get private sanitation. So this is a very, very big industry. Okay. And wise guys are smart. They figured out a way to control the industry. They would have meetings and, a lot of crazy things went on.
So it's safe to say that there were a number of hands in the pot getting kickbacks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you had to join the association. If you didn't join the association, your trucks get burned. Your drivers get beat up. Okay? Now, let's just say you and I are fighting over a stop. We would go to the association and you'd have a wise guy settle it out. All right. Well, I'm collecting 100 a month. You're going to do 150 a month. We're going to make it 175 a month. You're going to get a piece of the action. I got the whole, I got the stop now. And then the Waste Paper Association gets a piece of the action as well. So everybody's eating here.
Was Giuliani eating from this too?
Okay. No. Giuliani, okay? Well, I can't say that, okay? Giuliani this case was in existence prior to Giuliani becoming the mayor.
Okay.
You got it? When we made the big splash in 1995, the Bad News Bears conquered organized crime. He was out there front and center, taking credit for everything. He had nothing to do with this case. Now, this case also had other offshoots, okay, where we could have did a complete narcotics case off this because we had narcotics happening and so on and so forth. We had to stay on the focus of organized crime, controlling the private sanitation industry. What made it even harder was the feds were trying to do this for 50 years and they couldn't get into the sanitation industry. Now, we used the Manhattan DA's office. The Manhattan DA's office made us swear to see. We couldn't tell anybody. Nobody could talk about this case. When it came down, nobody knew it was even in existence. We didn't use the RICO statutes. We used OCA, Organized Crime Control Act, which is similar, but just a state version. And then we used the Donnelly Acts, which I never even heard of. Restraint of trade, bid rigging. These are things a normal cop doesn't understand or do. And they put together a big team of prosecutors. Some of them were real nice people. And I'm still friendly with some of the main guys. Great guy. Bruce Berger. God bless you, my brother. God forbid this slipped out. The NYPD would have hung us. Now, when the case came down in June of 1995, I don't know if I sent you any of the pictures or you listed, you see me, I got hair and everything. This made a splash and a half. It was all over the country with the news that we were superstars. The Bad News Bears conquered all, high-fiving in the DA's office, press conference. I was a movie star, okay? The police commissioner, Bratton at the time, who was a great guy, took us all together. At the day the case came down, we had one big undercover who was the main gazane in the case. He was a guy who actually infiltrated. He went to work in a private sanitation plant for a guy who was a rat. He was a confidential informant. He's the guy who turned the whole case over. He's now dead. He made a deal with the DA's office that they would pay him. Now, I got this secondhand now, got this from my sergeant. They were going to pay him 10% of the total asset forfeiture when the case came down. So that's what prompted this guy, who was a greedy guy, to, he hung the carrot in front of his nose. Mm-hmm. And we had to protect him with a team. We had to protect the undercover. We had to do information this is the field team. I was part of the field team. At times, myself and my partner, we went to wise guy weddings. We got information on the wiretap that there's going to be a wedding, so we got to go cover the wedding. Me and my partner, we looked like, we were real gindaloons, and we could slip in there, and he could talk, and I could talk. And we went into the Garden City Hotel, big place. A funny story was one day we get information that the wise guys and the trade waste associations are going to have a big meeting in a catering hall in Queens. So we're going to set up on it. We're going to start taking license plates and, see who's there, who shows up, who's involved. So we're in the parking lot. We got cameras and this and that. And we see guys are walking out with these folders underneath their arms. And I said to myself, there's something wrong here. Why are these guys walking out with the folders? And it dawned on me, something in that folder is what these people are being given. And what this information is that we're going to start playing with the price of paper. So I called my sergeant on the phone. I said, boss, Tony, great guy. I says, we got to get one of these folders. He says, well, you don't have no transmitter, on you. If you get caught in there and you have a problem, you're going to get hurt. I says, we'll do one of two things. I could try to steal one today, or we could come back 12 o'clock tonight. Somebody's going to leave it and they're going to throw it in the dumpster. We'll go dumpster dive. I really don't want to go in 12 o'clock at night with the rats and the roaches in the back of a dumpster. So I said, I'm going to go in. He said, no, don't do it. You're out of your mind. All right, I'll talk to you later. So what I do, I tell the guys in my team that are there, I said, I'm going to go sneak in there. Now, I look like I could be a Carter. I got a silk jacket on. I got work shoes on. I got khaki pants. This is the way the Carters dress. And I walked through the front doors all by myself. The plan was if they grab me, I'm going to say I'm from the sex crimes division. And I got information that somebody in there raped a 15-year-old girl. We got the information that he was one of the drivers. He's going to be in this location. I'm here. I'm sorry I interrupted your meeting. But if it was your daughter that got raped, you'd want me to be there, wouldn't you? You could put your teeth into that. That's a good bullshit story. So as I walk in, I look, and I see two gorillas at the door. So, oh, shit. They're looking at people. I said, I'm not going to be able to get in there. So what do? I go off into the men's room. You walk in the men's room, guys are in there who's smoking cigarettes. I wait, I get my turn at the urinal, and I walk up and I go, oh, shit, the water's cold, insinuating that my Johnson is touching the bottom of the urinal. What does everybody do? They start laughing. So this little old man next to me goes, hey, how's your father? He thinks he knows me. I says, he's a pain in my ass. Is he inside? I haven't seen him in months. I said, listen, he breaks my mother's balls. She gives him to me. I leave him at the office, I let my secretary take care of him. So I'm lying, but I'm going with the flow. What do you think about the price of paper? Oh, this and that. In 30 years, 40. I'm having a whole conversation. This guy thinks he knows me. Walks me right into the meeting. When I walk into the meeting, I start looking around for players that are in my case. And, if you're having a conversation with somebody and I call your name, you turn in your wave. And I go, hey, Anthony, what you doing? Hey, big guy. Hey, there he is. I wave and I walk away. And they wave. And they don't know who they're talking to. I did this with a few guys. Now I go sit at a table. I sit down at the table, and there's a glass there. I pull it next to me like I'm drinking. I grab a cigarette, and I'm looking around. I'm making mental notes on all the players that I know that are there, what attorneys are there, so we know who's in the mix now. And I see a folder. I reach over, I grab the folder, I put it next to me. What do I do next? I let my beeper go off. I take it out. Hey, this son of a bitching wife of mine, I can't take a shit. She calls me on the phone. She can't make a decision. Everybody's laughing. I've got problems with my wife. I said, I'll be right back. Hold the chair for me. Keep it warm. I got up, put the folder under my arm, and left. That wound up being a very big piece of evidence. And we knew what was going on at that meeting. But that was not planned. It just happened. I took the ball. I ran with it. And it wound up being successful. I didn't get hurt. Nobody got hurt. That's part of the way I did undercover work.
Were there any new laws made due to this case?
Yes. Giuliani set up a whole bunch of laws. My partner knows more about this than I do. They set up this whole team that was going to investigate. This was after I left the team because I got injured. And they continued with the case. He could come on and talk about all that stuff. He enacted a bunch of laws. It's in our video.
Speaking of that, Louis, why don't you tell listeners about the Operation Wasteland documentary, and when will that be out, when they can see it and that kind of stuff? Okay.
We have an edited 1.5-hour version of the case. It's all the facts of the case. It's all the things that we did. Play-by-play, the blow-by-blows as to how this case operated. This was the Bad News Bears now. And what we made into a documentary, which of course we're looking to promote and sell to A&E or Netflix or somebody. I will be representing us at the mob convention. You'll see me there. I answer any questions that you want. I tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. Hopefully somebody will take this and make a full feature film out of it, because a lot of things that went on were very unorthodox as to the way we got some of this information. I'll tell you, I'll send this video to anybody. I have a watermark copy. One of the things which people find very, very funny is on Thursday nights, the organized crime guys carting guys and organized crime guys met in a restaurant called Ponte's. Now, Ponte's was one of the defendants we locked up. And we couldn't sit up on the place because the parking lot attendant was very, very shrewd. He knew every crack in the sidewalk, and he knew all the cars that should be there. And if he saw something, he would go in and rat on us. So we had to park in a parking lot opposite the location on the West Side Highway, backing up the Hudson River. Now, this is me and my partner now in this location. And while we're sitting there, we got our backs towards the water. Cars are coming by. They're blowing their horn. They're waving at us. They're flashing their lights at us. I said, hey, Vic, what's going on here? We come to find out this is a gay man's meeting place. We have to do surveillance there all the time, every Thursday night. So now it's like, Vic, this car's coming. Hug me. What? Hug me. Go down on me. Fuck you. Go down on me. Give me a kiss. What do you? And he's a shy guy. I'm the lunatic. Okay. So there I am starting to hug him and what have you. We explained this. It's the funniest thing that ever happened. In the summertime, now we did this in December, January, February, summertime, we're sitting out there. I got nothing against gay guys. I got nothing against anybody. We're sitting there on beach chairs. We bring the barbecue out just to blend in. We look like two fairy Marys. I got blue glasses on, flowered shirts, just to get information. You can't put that in a report. But this is what would make, we're hoping that somebody will talk to us and we could tell them all of the funny things. Remember now, this is the bad news bears. Okay, so we're constantly making fun of each other and doing these crazy things. But I had some of the best times ever doing this case.
Well, listeners, keep your eyes open for Operation Wasteland. If you're going to be at the Mob Summit, which is only a couple days from when this is going to be released, you can come there and see Louis B in person. I will be there as well. Louis, thanks for your time coming on the show, talking about a little bit about your career, the stories. I mean, I know you could go on forever, but I only got so much time for the show.
Okay. I sincerely appreciate what you did for me and what you're doing for me. I'm just a regular guy. I had a job. I did the job to the best of my ability. And let me just say one thing. What's sad about this case is we were promised, the entire team was promised to be promoted. We took in from this case, at the end of the case, $271 million in asset forfeiture. Giuliani jumped on the heels of this case and went to Washington, D.C. and got another $54 million. The entire team was never promoted. I didn't get, I knew I was getting screwed. I didn't even get a medal. Everybody got medals. I got nothing. Nobody knows why. They just screwed me, like I said. What's the difference between the police department and organized crime? They're the same thing in different attire. And the saddest part of this whole thing is out of my team, out of a team of 11, 6 of us are dead. They'll never see the end result of what we're doing here. So me and my partner decided, all of these wise guys are coming out telling their stories. Let's turn the coin over and tell our story.
Yes.
And this is what Operation Wasteland is all about.
You said the police are on one side of the fence, organized crime's on the other side of the fence. But where does the insurance business lie in that? Are they in the middle?
When I work for the insurance company?
Yeah, because they're organized crime too, aren't they?
Well, you talk about organized crime? Okay. Working for an insurance company. Mr. Canali, you need a $3 million insurance policy. Yeah. We go in and we take your blood pressure. It's 1,600 over 940. The top of your head's ready to blow off. Okay. Let's send in another doctor. We send in another doctor. He takes it out of your right arm. The left arm was bad. Took it out of your right arm. Oh, 110 over 70. Bingo. He got greased. Listen, I went out and about. I hit on big companies and I tried to get the major medical plans for big companies. Mr. Canali, you are the benefits coordinator? Okay. Who other than yourself makes final decisions in this matter? I do. Okay. You came to lunch with me. I bought you lunch and I took you to a whorehouse. Okay. I got you cleaned. You follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's how things work. So it was organized crimes, not being organized crime. Okay. When I didn't do property and casualty work, but I knew about it because I had worked for Aetna at one time. And I knew when you were the adjuster coming to look at my car that was banged up, I knew to say, Mr. Canale, you're the adjuster here. What do you need today? A new hat or a new pair of shoes? They go, what? You know what I'm talking about. Let me see your pen. You got enough ink in that pen? I'm going to give you mine. It's got a lot of ink. You keep writing. That's organized crime.
It is. It is.
But I knew how to do this stuff. Not because I didn't went to college. I knew it because I knew how to, I knew how to operate.
And with that, listeners, before we go, if you need audio editing for a podcast, audiobook, or voiceover, contact me and join the growing list of shows and books I'm currently taking care of. You can do that by emailing me at beforethelightspod@gmail.com. That's beforethelightspod@gmail.com. It'll also be a link in the show notes for that. That's going to do it for this episode of Before the Lights. I'm Tommy Canale. And until next time, everybody, I salute a chin chin.